Cocoa prices are heating up again, the highest since February, adding pressure, softer demand, and the threat of new tariffs. I'm Johanna Bota, and here to discuss what's pushing cocoa higher and what could pull it back down is StoneX's trading associate, Vladimir Zientek. Welcome, Vladimir. Let's start with the sharp price jump last week. So on Friday, New York cocoa price rose back above $10,000 per ton, a first since mid-February. It seems like the rally is largely driven by worries over the crop quality in Ivory Coast. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So between Ivory Coast and Ghana, you have about 60% of the world cocoa production. Ever since the 2020-2021 crop, we've had a steady decline in both countries, mostly led due to aging trees, diseased trees, a spread to Galamsey and in Ghana, and obviously all these weather issues we've had, going from an El Nino to a La Nina and back and forth. This has caused a lot of worries about the upcoming main crop, the 2025-2026 main crop, which is set to start in October. The main reason for this rally was due to initial early pod counts. As many people in the industry know, these pod counts are early. They will not be, more concrete until June, maybe even July. But just the worry of having a fifth consecutive deficit in world production has caused this immense rally, which up until I believe it was yesterday's close was a $1,700 rally, almost a 20% rally in the span of 4 days. So it seems like, cocoa's always keeping us on our toes, and this is all on the production side. Demand-wise, we have been taking a small hit. If you looked at Hershey's, Mondelez, and Barry Callebaut's earnings reports, off the top of my head, Barry showed their volume mix down 4.7%. Their stock has taken quite a tumble. Hershey, which is mostly confection, showed an 18% drop in North American demand. And Mondelez, which has sort of a mix between confection and salty snacks, also showed a decrease in volume. The big issue is, it seems like, cocoa's a bit inelastic. People want to consume their chocolate, and whether it is on the higher end or on the lower end, demand has not taken a big enough of a hit to withstand this massive drop in supply we've been seeing in West African countries.
So let's elaborate a little more then on those cocoa prices also being supported by supply concerns. Can you delve a little deeper into that?
So you have what should be normal, because now what is normal? But what should be normal for Ivory Coast is a 2.2 million ton crop. In Ghana, it's about 750,000 tons. To give you an idea, last year the crop was around 1.75 million. It should be about the same for this year. So just right there is a 500,000 ton reduction in the Ivorian crop. That equates to about 10% of the world global production. Global production for cocoa tends to hover around 5 million tons. And in Ghana, in 2020-2021, they had a record year with good weather, good husbandry projects. They had a crop slightly above 1 million tons. Last year, they had 480,000 tons of cocoa produced. This year, we're going to see a small rebound, a sizable rebound, but still not to their normal, of roughly 600,000 tons. The main issue between those two countries is that, in my opinion, they're focusing more on the processing side, where they can add value to the cocoa, but there has not been made enough investment on the farm to produce more cocoa to fill up these plants.
Right.
Just yesterday, they were saying that in Ivory Coast, there are plants that are operating about 60% capacity because the bean quality is so bad that they refuse to process it themselves. What can solve these problems is mostly the free markets in cocoa, the Cameroons, the Nigerias, the Ecuadors, the Perus. The big issue here is that there's a massive drop-off between the world number one, the world number two, and the world number three being Ecuador. Ecuador this year, which should be having a record crop, is going to be somewhere between the 500 to the 525,000 metric tons, but that doesn't scratch the surface of the roughly 1 million tons of cocoa that's been missing in Ivory Coast and Ghana. Interesting to note is Brazil at I believe it was a WCC in Sao Paulo, said that they plan on being a world power in cocoa, but that can take up to a decade. the saying high prices cure high prices is true. The issue in cocoa is it takes between 3 to 5 years from a seedling to bear fruit. So all the work that's being done now, we won't really reap the benefits until the end of the decade.
Right. Okay. And what about tariffs? How have they been impacting the prices? How could they push prices even higher? Because I know recent tariff reviews has delayed the issue, but it hasn't gone away. So how might this impact cocoa prices over the longer term?
So we have a double whammy going on. The first is industry doesn't really want to pay $10,000 a ton for cocoa. That's already an arm and a leg. That's roughly 4 times the amount that they were paying only a few years ago. And now with these tariffs, we see the physical flow coming into America at almost a standstill. Also with the New York-London arbitrage at these levels, it doesn't make too much sense to bring cocoa into New York. So what we're seeing now, at least, on my end, is more people trying to send cocoa to London to get certified in London and sell via the exchange there. Why? Because if you are short futures and you tender against London, by law, it's a seller's choice, you will be able to sell. And there you can avoid some of the tariffs. But, our flow of beans is usually you buy in Latin America, you send to Asia to process, and then bring it back to the US. But with these high prices and how the internal markets in Latin America are, the internal differentials, it is not really economically, feasible or viable to be sending cocoa to the US. You're going to need an internal price of about minus 1,500, minus 1,600 to make that work out, where right now it's between minus 1,000 and minus 1,200. So on the physical flow, we have been seeing quite the standstill.
Okay. Well, thank you, Vladimir, and thank you for watching. For more financial content like this, please like and subscribe to our channel.